Oh, okay. I have to do this. I've been meaning to get to this one for a while. And I talked about this briefly on Access Vegas with Mike, and Mike was wondering what video I was talking about. This is the video I was talking about.
Don't acknowledge on the left is that women aren't interested in mating with men who aren't economically viable.
Why do we hate those women? Because when it was reversed, when it was more men graduating from college, you didn't see women lining up to hate them.
Okay. She's already used the word hate twice. So we're already of the presumption that men hate successful, quote unquote, whatever that means, successful women. Okay. So we've already set the tone of the conversation here with an emotion. What is that emotion? That emotion is hate.
And now those young men look at those women, those successful women, and they look at them with anger, with fury. Explain this one to me.
Okay. This is where I had to stop stop Mike and everything when we were talking about this. And I said, look, Scott Galloway seems to agree with this chick anyways, that men hate women who are successful. They hate them because they have achieved all this stuff. They're, whether it's college enrollment or graduation, or it's because they're making more money, or it's because they're in positions of power. It's because they're strong, independent women, yada, yada, yada. All this stuff. And by the way, this really coincides with what's the guy, what was it? The Johnny Test guy?
Johnny Test
guy that was on MSN. It really kind of locks in with this mentality that the left can't seem to get past the fact that they think that men hate women. And that's really, I think, sort of the crux of the whole thing when it comes to the red pill, because I think too many, and by the way, TradCon women think the same thing, but like there are too many people think that the red pill is about men hating women. And as you know, you probably heard this before, it's not about that. It is about men not hating women for what they can never be to them. And that's why I keep saying, like, even Scott Galloway says women want men who are economically attractive, economically viable, right? And it's not they're seething with hatred. It's that they don't, those women don't want to have anything to do with those men. Average women don't want to get with average
You're
women.
absolutely right. And when these men get isolated, they are more prone to misogynistic content. They're less likely to believe in climate change. They're more prone to the conspiracy theory. I want to be clear. No one has an obligation to service men who aren't having sex. No group has fallen further faster in our nation than young men.
Okay. So there's this this is where I take very strong issue against this idiot. Okay. And I do mean that, idiot. The very fact that he's agreeing with this chick who's talking about how, men must hate strong, independent, successful women. And they hate them, not just because they're women, but they hate them also because of their success. And that's what's triggering all of this. And they're just sitting around with nothing better to do than to clench their fists like fucking Arnold in like the Arnold fist shaking like that. Like that's the way they think. And yeah, exactly. Misogynistic content. They're well, what is that? Is that this show, Scott? Is that Myron and Fresh? Is that Andrew Tate? Because as far as I know, he's not telling them to go hate on them for their successes. All right. Anything that doesn't sort of toe this, put men back on the plantation, anything that doesn't put puts men in a stronger position in as far as gender dynamics is concerned. Anytime guys even like use the language of empiricism to describe a very realistic, very easy to understand problem, they're called misogynists for doing that. You know why? Because it's unflattering to female nature. Anytime people have asked me this before, and I like, what is mental point of origin? How do I understand mental point of origin better? Here's a good test. Okay. If I say something that is empirically, factually true about female nature, and even women agree with it, right? If I say, well, I can say this, for example, I can say, well, if it's something that is unflattering to female nature, if I say, well, women tend to prioritize emotion before reason. What will happen is you'll have the first time you'll hear, well, women will say this all the time, but you hear a guy say, yeah, well, men are emotional too. Like that guy, the guy who just said he has to sort of balance the yin to the yang. Like if I'm the yin and I say women are emotional and they prioritize emotion before reason, and you're the yang to but there's a yin. We can't have a yin without a yang. So we have to say, well, men do it too, and sometimes they do it worse, right? Or if it's a double standard, anything that's a double standards are easy. If you say something about like women that's unflattering about women, if I say like when it comes to like say slut shaming, for example, women slut shame other women by an order of magnitude greater than men ever will. Because most men are afraid to do that. They don't want to ruin their chance. Either they don't want to ruin their chances by with fucking getting in this girl's pants, or they're just simply like too pussies to say anything about it, right? But if I say that, and the next thing out of this other guy's mouth is, well, men slut shame too. Your mental point of origin is on women. Your mental point of origin is not how that your decision to say that tells me that your mental point of origin is outside of yourself. Your mental point of origin is focused on womankind, on the sisterhood, on what your mom will think, on what your wife will think, on what your girlfriend will think, or what your future possible potential girlfriend might think if she sees this video and you don't say something. Right? That is a clear statement of mental point of origin right there, because you felt that you had to sort of balance that equation. But no one does that for men, ever. So if I say, for example, for instance, if I say that women, and this is empirically, provably researched true, women have a better sense of smell than men. It's absolutely true. No one says, well, men have pretty good noses too. No one fucking says that. Or if I say women have a higher facility with communication, like they understand subcommunications better. They are their conversations are, if I say their conversations are about feelings and context and they enjoy conversation. They enjoy like women focus on people primarily, men focus on things, right?
EQ.
Yeah. If I just leave it at that, I say women focus on primarily on people. If you look at their choices for college majors, if you look at the careers that they tend to go into, they find like working with people more rewarding than working with things, if they find it rewarding at all, right? And even in the most gender egalitarian countries on planet Earth, if you leave women and men to their own devices, women are going to choose traditionally gender stereotypical make those choices. They're going to, whether it's career or it's college majors or starting a business or whatever else, and men are going to be stereotypically men. Men are going to be men, women are going to be women. If you leave them to their own devices, that's what they're going to gravitate towards. Even in the most egalitarian, most neutral, gender neutral countries, they still do that. But if I throw that out there and I say something like, if I say that women are better at communication, or they have a better facility for communication, sub-communications, physical, body language, that kind of stuff. Women, oh yes. Nobody says that. Men, there's nobody that chimes in and says, well, men are pretty good at communication too. Nobody says that, right? But if I say men are better at spatial, pattern recognition, they're better at spatial, like 3 dimensions, like throwing an object. They're better at STEM fields. They're better at cognitive tasks. They're better at mathematics. If I say that, I'll be punished for that. I will lose my tenure at fucking college as a teacher because I made that observation, that very empirical, factual observation. And that will be right after somebody says, yes, but women are pretty good at math too. And if you teach them this and blah, 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 right? There'll always be a guy who will chime in and say, yes, but. That guy who says, yes, but, his mental point of origin is on women and not himself, and not on the facts, and not on what he believes in, and maybe he does believe in that. But his mental point of origin is on women. That's the easiest way to find that out. So when I see something like Scott Galloway talking about this shit like here, and he agrees with this stuff, what he doesn't chime in with, instead of saying, yeah, but, he could have said this. Like if a woman says, well, what are we going to do about all these men who hate women for their success? You're presuming that they do already. You're presuming that that's a given and that's a truth. It's not. Okay. So if I went and if I was there, why is he not saying, yes, but women get into primarily their success, their greater success, and their is primarily based on a higher college enrollments. What are they majoring in? Well, they're majoring in fields that have to do with mostly with human beings, with people. They get into social sciences, they get into psychology, they're getting into law more, they get into human resources, they get into communication. They get into, like, if you look at, and this is why I really want Aaron Clarey to come on my show, right? Because he's done these breakdowns, and most of his, like the Book of Numbers, certainly A World Without Men, The Menu, lots of these other books that he's written about. He's an actuary. He's the numbers guy. Men are better with numbers. Fucking Aaron Clarey, sir, shit is right. But the fact is that there's this presumption that young men hate women for their success. Well, what's their success in? It's not in being a working out on some oil derrick in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. Women don't do that. Men do that. It's not working in raw sewage. Men do those fucking jobs, right? It's not working on high radio towers and doing fucking physical, demanding, dangerous fucking work. Men do those things. And you know what those men aren't thinking about when they're out in the patch and they're fucking, working on an oil field or some shit like that? They're not thinking about hating women. They're thinking about how they're going to fucking make ends meet and how they're going to make their rent. They're thinking about shit. They're not thinking about this shit. And to say that men hate women for their success is bullshit, number one. And that's where you should have started, Scott Galloway, is calling her on her bullshit and then say, well, what is women's quote unquote success based on? Well, it's based on a very small limited criteria and a very small a subset of women who get into fields that only apply to women. And we're going to say they're successful and men just by and large are not, or they hate them because of those successes in those very limited, very, very insular, atomized fields. Get the fuck out of here, Scott Galloway. Why are you not calling her on her bullshit on this presumption of hatred? Well, he's not, because it sounds right, because it plays to his base, and he's just as bad as any sort of we got man bun fucking masculine, like what's Justin Baldoni, right? Just as bad as any of these guys. And you don't fucking get it because you won't allow yourself to get past your own ideology until something really, really bad happens. Until Trump wins an election. Until all this bullshit, because he was talking about this before the election. He said, well, we need more masculinity like Tim Walz. Right? We need more masculinity. He's kind of like a lovable, fuzzy, stuffed animal coach that you want to just, he's there to listen to you. Like, he's a mother. Those are characteristics of a mom, not of a dude. And they'll say, well, yeah, so there's only like two fucking extremes. There's the Tim Walz guy who's just sort of like, oh, let's talk about our feelings and sit in a drum circle and cry it out. And then there's Donald Trump, who's just like, fuck y'all, and let's go take Tren, right? Let's legalize all of us. We're gonna legalize every form of gear. We're gonna legalize, right? But he makes these parodies and these caricatures of masculinity, and on both sides, by the way. He makes the one without realizing, and he makes the other by intent. I say, oh, these guys get into misogynistic content, and they believe in conspiracies like global warming and blah. Where the fuck did that come from, by the way? But the guy thinks that the source of all their problems and all their failures as progressive individuals doesn't lie in their failed, ideology and their failed memes. It lies in, well, men, these guys are just clinging to being stereotypical men. No, they're not. And I'm quite honestly, I'm kind of sick of the bullshit, right? Maury. Okay, Maury. I will be happy to
I just sent over his channel.
Yeah, I saw it. I just saw it in the chat or in the text. Okay. Yeah, man, dude, anytime, please. I didn't know who he was, so I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not that's not an insult. I just didn't know. That's cool. Yeah. Do you want to do it live? Come in here. Come here live. Or I'll go to you. Either way. You're going to ask me to come on your show. I'll be happy to do it live. Just let me know when, or just come here live. That'd be cool too. I really think people need to do shit more live. Oh, and then Jesus Christ. Yeah, I saw this too. Okay, somebody sent me, who's a psychedelic socialist? Somebody sent me some more leaks from Destiny. Oh God. Yeah, I saw the one where he's sort of like appealing to some 15-year-old kid. Yeah. Like, let me ask, like, can I ask a question? This is an honest to God question. I'm not trying to be a dick about the, well, maybe a little bit, but like, why is it that like Jack Murphy, like when all that shit went down with Jack Murphy, and like people probably don't even remember this. Like I remember when Jack Murphy went on what was a podcast? It was You Are Here podcast with Sydney Watson and Elijah Schaefer. I know because it was I had gone on the show the week before. Why is it that guy gets completely ostracized, loses his spot, his semi-regular spot on Tim Pool because of a blog post he wrote about like women fucking his wife, like, and how proud he was and how he thought it was a surprising source of masculine energy to be cool with his girlfriend going off on Tinder dates and fucking random guys and having her tell him about it. And then you find out that the dude is into like sort of and like likes to get after it with twinks or whatever. Like he's like this closeted whatever. And like he's completely ostracized. He disappeared. He's and rightly so. It disappears. But then you got a guy like Destiny and does worse than that. And the guy's on Pierce Morgan. And the guy's going on Chris Williamson. And the guy, I mean, worse. I mean, arguably. Now you can debate me on this if you want, but Destiny is objectively worse than Jack Murphy ever was. And we lionize the guy. And we put him on fucking, he's on Pierce Morgan. He goes on Jubilee. He goes on fucking, he debates Palestine versus Israel with Tommy Lahren on fucking Pierce Morgan. That dude. And you know what he's about right now? And you know what? Pierce Morgan will still have him on. I guarantee you. He will not have Jack Murphy on, but he will have Destiny on. It's unbelievable. Like, at what point do we have to sort of draw the line?